What's going on, guys? C5 Boys here. Today I'm with the Camaro I talked about in the last video. And when we got this Camaro, we didn't know if it would turn on or not. So what we did is we took out each spark plug from inside the engine and we squirted a little bit of oil inside each cylinder to get all the pistons lubricated and wet.
That's what she said.
So when all the pistons are lubricated and wet, if the engine is not yet seized, if you do not do this and that the engine hasn't run over like 20 years, if you do not do this, it has a very possible chance of seizing up and therefore ruining the entire engine block completely. So we tried to turn it on and we realized that the best way to insert gas was to get a hose, hook it directly to the fuel pump and get a gallon, hold it up really high so that the fuel will just go straight down into the fuel pump. And we then realized that it wasn't taking any gas in. So what we did was we got a beer can, poured a little bit of gas in it, and we poured it in up to in the carburetor, and that way the engine finally turned on and it ran like it was a brand new car. And what we did was, before we did that, we actually changed the distributor back there and we made it into a newer electrical one, meaning that it shoots at a fire ordering way better than the old one. So another problem we had with this car was the brake master cylinder, and this is what gives your car's brakes and allows you to stop. So what happened was we took out the old one, or we opened it first, and we saw that the inside was missing all the oil. That was for the car sitting for 20 years and not being used. So it allowed all the oil to seep out and eventually start to rust the inside, and you don't want that. So what we did is we bought another master cylinder, we put it inside, and what we're about to show you guys is how to bleed your master cylinder and how to bleed all your brakes on all your tires, so that way you have brakes to stop. And so to bleed the brakes, you could do this by yourself, but I think it's easier with two people, so I'm gonna have my brother here, Michael. He's gonna be helping me bleed the brakes. And so what you do is you want to be very careful with brake fluid. If you get on your skin, you want to wash it off immediately. You don't want to be touching this stuff. So you want to pour it in. You want to be very careful how you pour it. So you pour it in. You want to fill it all the way to the, not all the way to the top because it might overflow. Then you want to pour some in the back, over here. And be very careful when you pour this. And so what Michael's going to do now is pump the brake very, very slowly to get all the air bubbles and pump it through the line and pump it out the other side. And what you want to do is you want to make sure the line is touching the bottom. If the line is outside of the fluid, then you'll be sucking in air instead of the actual fluid, and that's really bad. So Michael, press the brake really slow. Press it in all the way. And let go. You see all these air bubbles. Alright, press. And let go. And press. And let go. And you basically want to keep doing this until you get all these air bubbles out, until you see a clear stream of just pure fluid. And that should be it, and then just keep pressing it until there's no air bubbles, and from there we move on to the next step. Alright, so once you have the air bubbles taken out, you want to make sure you take out all the tiny air bubbles. Even the smallest ones will make a huge difference in your brakes. So once you have those taken out, and before you take out these plastic tubes to make sure you get the air bubbles out, you want to put a bunch of paper towels all over the inside if this is a brand new car and you don't want to get anything messed up, rusted, or even stripped of paint. And if you do get any brake fluid anywhere on the body or on the inside, you want to take it off immediately because it will strip the paint and it will completely damage the looks of the car. So this is not a fully restored vehicle, so it's okay with just these couple paper towels. And to take off the red knob that goes inside is just hand tight. You can take that off with anything in your hands. But for these metal ones, to put it back on, you want to use a line wrench, and this fits on the head of this perfectly. This allows it to not strip as easily because, as you can see, these are really small. They have almost no threads, and you have a really big chance of stripping it with these regular size wrenches. So it is always better to get a line wrench, complete the fit, and put it on perfectly. Alright, so you want to take this off the line to fix your brakes. And you want to put this one on as fast as you can, and make sure you try not to get the least amount of air bubbles in it, because the more air bubbles, the more work you have to do to bleed the brakes on all of your tires. So I'm going to start unscrewing this one. It's just hand tight, and once it's taken off all the way. So it's almost taken off, and this will leak all into the paper towel. And then you get this brake one, put it in, slide it over, and screw it in. Hand tight for the first couple threads. And then you want to get your line wrench. Mine is the 9/16, which fits on this perfectly. And you want to put it on, and you want to try not to go really fast because you will strip it, and try not to go at an angle. You want to make sure it goes completely straight in to prevent it from stripping. And that's all you want to do to put in your brake line. Alright, so we finished bleeding the master cylinder up in the front, and now we're bleeding the individual wheel cylinders, and we're about to do that. But when you jack up a car, you never want to rely on only the jack. You always want to have these jack stands on the side to support the car, because these jacks will always run out of pressure. They will always come down over time. So you always want to have these jack stands as a second holder to hold it up, because it will fall eventually. And so now what we're about to do is I'm gonna open this, which opens the valve to let all the air out from the brake line. And my brother Michael in the driver's seat is gonna bleed the brakes. By doing so, he's gonna press the brake 3 times, and on the third one, he will hold it down, and I will open this and let all the air out, and then close it right away. And then then Michael after will let go of the braking. Just keep repeating this until you see no more air bubbles back here by the ratchet. Alright, Michael, pump it 3 times and let me know when you're on the third one.
1, 2, 3.
Alright, now hold it. Alright. And you basically want to repeat that until you see no more air bubbles back here by the ratchet. Now we're moving on to the front, and we're going to open the valve right now for the brakes, and we're going to see a steady stream. And Michael in the driver's seat is going to pump it. Go, Michael.
I'm holding it.
Alright, let it go. You don't need to pump it anymore.
Alright. Pump it, pump it, pump it.